Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get deeper into the heart of the budget. It's a budget of consolidation. How much of consolidation can we see? Can this budget actually live to the expectations from those drafters who said they want the budget to now live between the January to December budget cycle, the normal one? That means there's been some abnormality. Well, you've been seeing some of the breakdown of the figures right there on your screen. We've been talking with Dr. Fasua, CEO of Global Analytics, but then let's switch gears now and speak to yet another mind who has led its team to break down the budget. Mr. Eze Onyekwere joins us from Abuja. The Center for Social Justice is this organization. They've given us a sense of what all of these figures mean, the positives and the negatives. Let's begin with the positives. Mr. Onyekwere, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Let's start with the positives. What can we take away from this budget?
Well, thank you very much. The positives is that we have a budget presented in early November. Some form of departure from the past one, we had it presented in late December. So we are hoping that something positive could be done on this by the legislature. And at the end of the day, we have this budget passed, not necessarily before the end of December, maybe by early January or late February, early January or early February, so that we can really start a January to December budget calendar. So that's a good one that we are taking away from the budget. And all those beautiful things that we are saying about continuation of the social investment program and the fact that we are producing more in agriculture and reducing the food bill, and all those fine things that were said by the President at the beginning of his speech.
Okay, then it looks so much, some of these positives that we've seen. Can you see any form of the spirit of consolidation at all in this budget? Is there anything really that signals anything that looks like consolidation in this budget?
Well, the concept of consolidation means that there's something positive which you want to build on. I have not seen anything positive in terms of what has been achieved in the past 2 years through the budgeting process that we need to consolidate. Rather, this should be a deconsolidation process, because we are moving away from the budget calendar that made no meaning to one that seeks to comply with the law. We are also trying to move away with non-implementation of the capital budget to a capital budget that should be implemented. We are also seeking to move away from a revenue forecast and projection that is based on sentiment to one that is based on empirical evidence. So I don't see anything to consolidate, because you cannot consolidate poverty, you cannot consolidate arbitrariness, and you cannot consolidate lack of implementation of the capital budget. You cannot consolidate non-empirical forecast of revenue. So there is absolutely nothing to consolidate.
That's interesting that you have pointed these out, but then you've talked about the positives. Let's look at the breakdown. If you say there's nothing to consolidate, we were out of, they say that we stepped out of recession. Isn't that enough consolidation on what perhaps they say we are doing well in agriculture? Isn't that enough to consolidate? We've steadily improved our production of oil. Isn't that also a point to consolidate on?
Well, you cannot say so. We are not in a recession when the government took over. So it's the government that led us into recession. The oil production was high when the government took over. So it's them that also dipped the oil production. So if you simply drove the car into a ditch and you're coming out, it's not a question of consolidation. You are simply trying to say you've been wrong, and you are simply going to move in a new direction. So it's not about consolidation. And so that brings us to the breakdown of the budget. We have a situation where we are projecting 2.3 million barrels of crude oil a day. But government figures say that we are currently doing about 1.9 million barrels a day. So what will change between now and 2018, why we should project an extra 400,000 barrels a day? And that adds to the revenue framework in terms of, if we don't realize this, that means we're budgeting on the edge. We are missing 400,000 barrels times $45 times the number of days in a year. Then you also look at the fact that the OPEC is cutting down on oil production. Nigeria was given a concession in January and given another one in September simply because the economy was bad. We were in the woods. But now we've come out of recession. There's no guarantee that OPEC will continue that. So if you are doing 1.9 and your quota maybe what you projected in your budget was 2.3, you did not meet it, and you are moving ahead at a time you may be asked to cut down, I don't think it's realistic. If you look at independent revenue, by the president's words, the performance was down by 74% from what was projected in 2017. So why are you still making that projection if 2017 projection could not be realized by about 70-something percent? Why are you still going higher in 2018? We now make projections for using recoveries to fund 2018. As at the time they gave us the figures in June from the MTED, out of the 500-something billion they projected to use from recovery to fund the 2017 budget, nothing has come in. And we are still doing projections based on recovery. So how are we going to continue building on expectancies that their materialization is not within our reach in terms of we are not the ones to determine whether it will materialize or not? So why don't you wait for these funds to come in and use them to do supplementary budget? Because the challenge is that if the funds don't come in, we usually do the usuals. We pay salaries, draw down overhead, and then pay debts. And it is the capital component of the budget that will suffer. Now, the capital budget in 2017 of over 2 trillion. As at a month to the end of the year, you've only released 450 billion. And mind you, in public finance balance, release doesn't mean that the money is cash back. The cash is not, it may not necessarily be there. Even if they're cash back, there's no guarantee that the MDAs have really utilized them. And we're talking of 450 billion, which is roughly about 20% of over 2 trillion.
Mr. Yokore, it seems the connection there is really horrible now. Just as we drive home the point, let me allow Tope Fasua to perhaps end the conversation with us tonight. In 30 seconds, where do you see this ending? The kind of premise the president gave, political one, on the passage of this budget. Just in 30 seconds, what do you think we'll be seeing in the coming days?
Well, I think the best we can expect and hope for is the National Assembly to cooperate with the president and quickly see to the passing of this budget, perhaps in the early quarters, first quarter of 2018. This year's budget didn't kick in until around June or July. And it's very important that, you know, any economy around the world, I've not seen that economy that is not driven by government. So there's this wrong economics that we've been pushing around here, trying to minimize the influence of government. All right. Government is influential everywhere, even in employment. Yeah. That's a story for another day anyway. But Mr.
Fasua, I'm afraid that's how far we can go tonight. Thank you so much, Tope Fasua, CEO of Global Analytics. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Ezen Yokwere is the ED of Center for Social Justice. Thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, the network there isn't very good. Just as we go, at the last Federal Executive meeting, a mild drama played out. The head of service, Mrs. Winfred Oyoita, and the chief of staff to the president, Abba Kyari, argued apparently about what you could only guess. The atmosphere looked kind of tense. But today, they tend to have resolved their differences at the share hug. Those two visuals confirm the phrase, we agree to disagree, and politics is not an exception. That's our show tonight, everyone. Many thanks for being part of it. I'm Sean Kimbale. Bye for now.